Welcome back. My name's Pete. This is my channel 1822 Adventures and More. It rained last night. It's raining today. It's going to rain tonight. The wind's going to be whipping tomorrow. And then it's on top of that, it's going to start getting cold. So no fishing, no camping, no riding around having fun. Work. And being that I'm going to be working, it is definitely a chopper kind of day. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to take the plugs out, I'm going to take a look at the points, yank the battery out, and go from there. So with that being said, what do you say we get to work? Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to blow out the spark plug holes, make sure I don't have any crud or crap in there. And even if you have a motorcycle with exposed spark plugs like a Harley or a Triumph or an old Yamaha 650, still not a bad idea to blast a little air around the spark plug, make sure you ain't got no sand and crap in there. So with that being said, let me give this thing a twist and we will blow this stuff out. Now that is definitely a lot better than an air compressor. I'd rather, when I'm just doing small jobs like this, I'd much rather just have a portable tank like that. A compressor can be a real buzzkill, you know, kicking on and kicking off. You can't talk to nobody. If you're in here, you won't hear the phone ring. You can't hear the music. Unfortunately, being that this is a YouTube video, I can't have music on in the background because somebody will get all pissy about copyright infringements. But anyways, with that being said, let me go ahead and pull these spark plugs out. And I'll be using a Motion Pro 18mm deep well socket, a short snap-on extension, and a snap-on wrench. And that one's looking a little rich. As you can see, it's black. Rich. This one's running rich too. Tuning them and why the spark plugs look like. Now that one there is almost right. It's really close. Still maybe just a little bit rich. Alright, time to take this off. And everything looks real good in there. Just for giggles and grins. So there's a good look at the ignition system right there. There's two condensers, there's a set of points, and there's a set of points. This one goes to cylinder 1 and 4, and that one goes to number 2 and 3. So something you might want to make note of is that mark right there is the high spot on that lobe. So as I turn this over, it will open these set of points up as far as they'll open up, and then I can do the reading on them. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take them out and clean them up because they still have a lot of meat left on them. And what I'll do is I'll simply take them off the motorcycle. I'll disconnect these wires, and then I'm going to put them in my vise, and I'll straighten them out with a points file and a wheatstone that's made for points. Get them all nice and shiny, and I'll put them back in there. Okay, I'm getting ready to drop the other set of points out of here, but I want to do a little friendly reminder. You monkey around with an old motorcycle like this, remember, that's the screw that keeps your points tight. You go to take your points out for service, do not, under any circumstances, fool around with these other screws that you see here. Those are the timing plates. You mess around with those when you're not ready to do the timing, you'll be hating life. Just this one little screw here. First you loosen these up, and the right size is about a 7/32 if you don't have a metric wrench. I've already loosened them up, but you pull them out like that. And then go ahead and take your screw out. Magnet screws are screwdrivers are nice for that. And then so you don't lose your screw, because they will disappear. Just Put it back in there like that. And now what I'm going to be doing, these are fairly new points, but as you can see, hopefully you can see, they're pitted. They get like that because every time they open and close, they're sparking and arcing. Because power comes into the condenser's holding the power, builds up a charge, and when the point's open, it creates a spark, and then it jumps on up there to the coils and the spark plugs, and all kinds of wild stuff happens. But what I'm going to do is we'll take this apart and we'll clean it. Okay, so here I got my points, and what holds these things together is a little circlip there, or as some of us like to call them, a Jesus Christ clip, because about the time you get it off, it flies across the shop and you go, Jesus Christ, because you know better. You just take your little screwdriver here. There you go, let me get it. Come on now. There we go. Now, that thing just went flying, and if it wasn't in that bag, it would have went flying who knows where, right? So we take that, like that, and there's another little washer that goes right there. So now, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a circlip and a washer. So we'll just kind of go like that. We'll get that down there where it's safe. And then I'll take these right here like this. And there's a nut, a lock washer, a plastic doodad, and that, we'll put it in there like that. And now, got two pieces here, as you can see. And they're both, let's see here, am I doing this right? And they're both pitted. So, I will grab out my antique fine indie file made in USA a long time ago. This is actually a points file. I'll be putting my points in the vise, and then I'll buff that off. We'll get it all nice and shiny. So give me a second here. Okay, well hopefully now you can see that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this across there a little bit. See if I can't get it's looking good again, and you got to be real careful. You want to make sure and keep your file nice and straight. Man, it's right in my eyes. Okay, so now it looks pretty flat. Looks pretty clean again. I'll buff that out a little bit more with the emery cloth that I have over there. And remember, when you put your points plate in here, don't put it in there and be Hercules. Just put it in there enough to hold it. Don't scrunch it down and bend them, because then you'll have to get a new set of points. Actually, this one's kind of raw, so I'm going to run this here points. This is an actual points file. Run this across here once or twice. Alrighty, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's all nice and bright and shiny again. Alright, so now it's time to wipe it off just a little bit. I'll be cleaning it better, of course, later. You just get that goop off there. And it's going to go back together exactly the way it came apart. Give me a second here. There we go. So you just kind of want to put it back together. You just kind of want to squeeze that spring a little bit. Put this thing back on there about like that. It's right back about where it needs to be. So we'll just take this in there. I'll set that right there. So here's the little flat washer that goes on there. And then we got this little clip that goes on there. But remember, like what I said, put it in a bag so it don't go flying across your shop. You just kind of put that thing on there, about where it's supposed to go. You take your little, ta-da, just like that, okay? Little clips back on there. Sure. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. The little plastic wafer goes in like that. And this plastic wafer goes in there like that. And you want this to go in there like that because this is the part that's moving up and down. You don't want a long bolt sticking out that end because it'll just create trouble for you. Okay, so that's about ready to go back in, but I have this old flex stone made in USA a million years ago. Yeah, back in the day, if your points was acting up a little bit, you could just slightly spread them, and then you could take a brand new bill. Didn't matter if it was $1, a 5, a 10, a 20, a 50. Back in those days, 100 to me was unheard of. But you could take a brand new bill and you could stick it in there, and it would buff these things out. And they'll end up, I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but they look brand new. It's all bright and shiny in there. Try to get all the little dust off of there. I'll be blowing this out again. But so now, yeah, like I was saying, you could pull over on the side of the road, run a bill through there and buff them out real quick, get the crud and the dirt off of them, be on your way. This old antique stuff is usually pretty serviceable on the side of the road. Here we go. I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a lot of meat on there. So every 2,500 miles or so, like, you know, when you're changing your oil about every 2,500 miles, you pull your points out real quick and you clean them. Then you put them back in there. Yeah, I know, right? Kind of sucks. Well, we didn't have electronic ignition back in the day. We had points and condenser. So that's what we had to do. That's why a lot of times back in the olden days, you spent half your Saturday tuning up your motorcycle just so you could ride it to the bar Saturday night. It was all part of the deal back then. It's just so easy today. Don't even have Kickstarters anymore. You just touch a button and boom, it starts right up. Well, anyways, let me quit wandering. I'll put this back in the motorcycle. Okay, I've already put my wires on there. They're just not tight yet, but here we go. Oop. Take your screw out of there. Be careful not to lose it. Oh yeah, and in the back there's that little hole. That's going to go right there. So you stick that up in there. Stick that up there in the hole like that. Well, that's where it goes anyways. Stick that up there in that little hole like that. Stick that in there like that. Don't get it real tight. Just put it in there so it'll stay. You want it to move a little bit. And take your little wrench right here. See if we can't tighten this up. And I seem to be having a moment of dumbass here. Let's turn it to the right so it gets tight. If I turn it to the left, it's going to get loose. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I believe that's been a shop saying since there's been shops, and people that can't remember their right from their left sometimes. Should be good on that. So now we'll turn this. I'll turn this around a couple of times. Now what I need to do is I need to bring that mark to about right there where the cam is on that. Alright, the little high mark on the points is lined up with the high mark on the lobe. So now it's time to set this thing at 14 thousandths. Okay, so that's just in there kind of like finger tight. There's two nubs right here and a notch there. So you can draw it up or make it go small. Let's see what we got here. Alright, that feels pretty good. You want just a nice slight sliding fit. Always double check it. Feels good to me. For all you young guys out there, you probably don't even know what the hell this is. This is an old school tachometer and dwell meter. What happens with this is I hook one of these leads up to the coil and I hook the other lead up to the points, and I'll get a reading off of that, the bottom one on the dwell. Even though it's a 4-cylinder dual point, I'm not that concerned about what the actual number is. What I'm concerned about is when I go from one set of points to the other set of points, that the number's the same. Okay. So when I get this set up, what I'll be doing is I'll make sure that this set of points is right where I want it. And then I'll take a reading off of that, and we'll just say it says 30. And I'm like, yeah, 1 and 4 is running good. Then I'll set it on this one, and I'll make sure that this set of points is running at 40. And if it's not, I'll loosen that screw up just a little bit, and I'll move those things back and forth until I get that on the exact same number that the first one was. And then my dwell will be set to both of these. They'll both be the same, number 1 and 4 and number 2 and 3. And then my dwell will be set right. So I'll put this back on. So because until I'm ready to do that, I need this cover on there to keep the dirt out. Alright, I'm going to yank the battery out, and of course it's a chopper, so it's not the same. I'm using a screwdriver over here to loosen up the ground strap, and over here we'll just use a 10mm like you're supposed to, and a socket. And the battery's completely dead, so I don't have to worry about it sparking or arcing or anything crazy like that. Okay. Now in theory, this thing's going to come right out. I forgot, it comes out easy, it goes in hard. Anyways, in the shop, I pulled out my spark plugs, I cleaned them, they look good. I'm going to re-gap them and put them back in the motorcycle. Well, hello there. This is my little probate here, new cat. Come on, bud. Quit hamming it up. I cleaned the points and then reset them at 14 thousandths. I believe someone's hungry. Set them at 14 thousandths, and when the bike's back running, I will double check the dwell. I have a feeling it might be off just a little bit, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. My little mouser seems to be hungry, but this concludes another episode of A Rainy Day in the Shop working on the dinosaur. So that about does it for today. I guess I need to get this guy fed because he's bugging me. You know, he can't just go catch a mouse and hold himself over till I got time to feed him. No, he's got to jump up on my lap and get in the video. I hope nobody minds. But anyways, my name is Pete. This is my channel, 1822 MC Adventures and More. It was a rainy day in the shop. What do we do on rainy days? Well, we play with the cat and we work on the dinosaur. Just a reminder, it's a 1974 Honda 750K in a custom frame with a girder front end. Period correct for 1974. When this thing fires back up, it will be for sale. When I sell it, I will drag in another one of my dinosaurs that's on the other side of the wall there, and we'll work on another project. What will the next one be? I don't know. We could restore one. We could make a cafe racer. We could make another adventure bike. I don't know. We'll see. I got a couple ideas. Anyways, let me get this guy fed. So until next time, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for subscribing. If you have a question, don't be scared to ask. I'll answer it. I might not answer it fast enough for you, but I'll answer it. And, well, till next time. Me and the cat are hungry, so I'll see you later.